Welcome to the Word Podcast. I'm Julian Spivey, the creator and editor of The Word, and I'm here today with my buddy Eric Fulton to do a Major League Baseball 2019 season preview. Eric is one of the most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to sports in general. We used to do a sports-themed podcast together a few years back, and it was a lot of fun. I expect today's show to be much of the same, so welcome to the Word Podcast, Eric.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks for having me.
You bet. The Boston Red Sox won the 2018 World Series, so why don't we start off the podcast with their division, the American League East. I think this division is going to be much the same as it was last year. In fact, I think all five teams will be first through fifth like they were last year. I don't think the Boston Red Sox will win the franchise record 108 games they won last year. You just could never really predict that for a team. But they're still going to be really good. The only major difference is the loss of closer Craig Kimbrell, who's shockingly still a free agent with the season coming up in about 2 weeks, despite being the best closer in the game over the last half-decade. But their offense, led by reigning MVP Mookie Betts and RBI machine J.D. Martinez, is pretty much unchanged, and I still think will be likely the best offense in all of baseball. Great pitching staff led by Chris Sale, too. What do you have on
I think that they'll only win somewhere between 100 and 105.
Which is still a great season.
I mean, that's still a great season regardless. But yeah, the Red Sox will once again win the AL East.
The Yankees pretty much kept up with the Red Sox the majority of the season 2018, and they pretty much only finished second place to him because they had a worse rotation than the Sox did. And I think the Yankees have really improved that rotation this year with the acquisition of James Paxton from the Seattle Mariners in the offseason. Paxton should be good for at least 15 wins a year. That may even be underselling him a little bit. And they also have one of the best bullpens in baseball, if not this year, maybe even ever. They added Zach Britton, who was a great closer for the Baltimore Orioles for a few years, and they added Adam Ottavino, a great reliever from the Colorado Rockies last year, to go with closer Aroldis Chapman and Dellin Betances. They have that great offense led by Giancarlo Stanton and Adam Judge, who should be good. I think Stanton will have a bit of a bounce-back season. And I believe Miguel Andujar, who was a surprise last year for them in the infield, is going to be great. What do you have to say about the Yankees?
I love their bullpen.
Their
bullpen, to me, is probably the deepest in all of baseball.
You only really have to go 5 innings for the Yankees, and then you're pretty much set for the rest of the game with Ottavino, Britton, Chapman, and Betances. Not in that order, of course.
I agree.
Third place, I believe, will be the Tampa Bay Rays again. They're going to finish exactly where they did last year. They have the reigning Cy Young and Blake Snell, who kind of surprised people last year. I like the addition of Charlie Morton from the Houston Astros to give them a nice 1-2 punch in the rotation. And then the rest of the time, they're probably going to use the controversial opener strategy, which they did last year, where they have a reliever start the game and pretty much have the bullpen take it the whole way. They have a nice young offense, too. I think they'll be around 500 this year.
They aren't going to contend with the Yankees and Red Sox, obviously, but they will contend for a wild card.
Yes. The fourth and fifth place teams in this division aren't going to be too much to really get excited about. The Toronto Blue Jays finishing fourth, and the biggest story for them is going to be the impending superstardom of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who some people think may even end up being better than his Hall of Fame dad. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year in the American League. The only reason that he might not is they're going to keep him down in the minors for a bit for contractual purposes, kind of like the Chicago Cubs did with Chris Bryant in his rookie season, and we've seen it a couple other times. And then I have the Baltimore Orioles, who I think is going to be maybe the worst team in the American League. They may not even win 60 games this year, and I feel sorry for their fan base because their team made the playoffs there a couple times in a few years, and they're just now going to be pretty bad. What do you have to say about Toronto and Baltimore?
I don't have much to say. I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to be AL Rookie of the Year. Baltimore, I think they're just complete rebuild mode.
Yeah, on to the American League Central. I think the Cleveland Indians are going to win this division again. I think they have the best rotation in the American League, if not the entire game of baseball, with Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Mike Clevenger. I cannot believe that they were trying to trade Kluber, Bauer, or Carrasco, one of those guys in the offseason. It just shocked me. And those guys go along with one of the high-powered offenses in the league, led by infielders, Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor, who are frequently in the top 5 in American League MVP voting. This is a team that should definitely be around 95 to 100 wins. Do you agree with the Indians winning?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Cleveland, they should win this division rather easily. Mm-hmm. Should have 95 to 100 wins pretty easily because they do play in a bad division.
Yeah. Last year, I told people that I thought the Milwaukee Brewers would be the surprise team in baseball, and they went all the way to the National League Championship Series. Now, I don't think the Minnesota Twins will get quite that far in the postseason this year, but I believe that they could surprise a lot of people in 2019. I really enjoyed the acquisitions of Nelson Cruz and Marwin Gonzalez for that team. Cruz has been, I think, baseball's home run leader for the last decade. I think the Twins are going to fight for a wild card spot in a league that won't have too many teams contending for that
No.
spot.
No.
Do you have something to add
Yeah,
about Minnesota?
I will say I love their offense. Their pitching is questionable, but still, Minnesota's going to compete for a wild card spot.
Yeah, and the bottom of the American League Central is going to be absolutely wretched this year. I've got the Chicago White Sox finishing third, the Kansas City Royals finishing fourth, Detroit Tigers finishing fifth. I think you could expect all three of those teams to lose around 85 to 100 losses, depending on the team. What do you have for the bottom of the American League Central Division?
I do agree with the White Sox finishing third.
They're just a little bit better than the Tigers and Royals.
I still think that they're going to be another year or two away.
Too young.
Still too young, but Eloy Jimenez is probably going to be a strong contender for AL Rookie of the Year. I got Detroit in fourth, Kansas City fifth. Those two, I don't expect them to do much.
Yeah. Moving on to the American League West, where it's pretty much been the Houston Astros division the last few years, and I don't see that changing in 2019. I know the Oakland Athletics gave them a run for their money last year with a surprise wild card berth, but I just don't trust Oakland's pitching. But speaking of pitching, the Astros rotation is not going to be as good this year as it has been in recent years. They still have future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander as their ace, but they've lost Charlie Morton to the Tampa Bay Rays, and I assume they're going to lose Dallas Keuchel. Unbelievably, he's still a free agent this late in the game. He could possibly end up back in H-Town, but it's really their offense that's going to just drive this team, and I think it's going to be better than it ever has, even when they won the World Series a few years ago. They add all-star outfielder Michael Brantley coming over from the Cleveland Indians, and adding Brantley, a guy who always seems to be around 300 average, into a lineup that features Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, and George Springer. That's just going to be lights out. Do you have anything to add about Houston?
Houston offense could be very well one of the all-time
Houston
greats.
and Boston this year should just, and even the Yankees maybe, especially if Stanton can pop back.
Yeah,
are going to be great.
those three
offensive
offensives are going to be ridiculous.
The Oakland A's I have finishing second again this year. Like I said, that they were a huge surprise last year, but I just can't trust a rotation that's led by Mike Fiers and Marco Estrada. The offense, however, should still be impressive. You got Chris Davis, who's seemingly good for 40 bombs a year. Matt Chapman became a superstar last year. If their pitching was just better, I would think that they'd have a better shot. What do you think about Oakland?
They will compete for a wild card, but that's it.
Yeah. The biggest crime in Major League Baseball year after year, in my opinion, is the Los Angeles Angels, completely wasting the biggest talent in the entire game in Mike Trout, and they continue to not add pitching around him for that offense. Their biggest addition in the offseason was Matt Harvey. He just doesn't scare anybody anymore like he did in his heyday with the Mets. I think they're going to finish third in the division again, and I think Mike Trout is going to be bolting out of L.A. When his free agency comes up in 2 years. He's going to break the bank via free agency. I think he'll eventually end up with his the team that was his favorite growing up in New Jersey, the Philadelphia Phillies. I think he'll join Bryce Harper with that team. They have the money for it. What do you think about Los Angeles Angels?
Mike Trout should be worth at least $350 million.
He's the best player in the game. Some
player in the
people
game,
say
it's
he
not
will
even
end up being the
close.
best player ever to play the game. I don't know about that, but
I-
sabermetrics guys believe that. The two teams that are currently rebuilding in the American League West are the Seattle Mariners. They really tore it apart in the offseason. They got rid of most of their best players. James Paxton they shipped to the Yankees. They shipped the best young closer in all of baseball, in my opinion, Edwin Diaz, to the Mets. They also gave the Mets Robinson Cano and his big contract in that deal. Gene Segura left for the Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to be very bad this year. I think they'll finish fourth. I think the Texas Rangers will be even worse and will finish fifth in that division. What do you have to say about the bottom of the American League West?
I think Seattle gave in too early. I think they
I agree with that.
They had very good talent last year to compete for a playoff spot. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I think if they had waited, kept everybody this year, they easily could have probably leaped over Oakland. For second place.
They really could have if they had just kept everybody together, but they seem like they want I feel like they felt like the best they could do is a first round loss in the playoffs. But keep in mind, they haven't been to the playoffs. They have the longest streak in all pro sports.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They have the longest
So
drought.
I don't know. At some point,
in baseball.
I think maybe just making the playoffs would have been a nice step. But anyway, that's over. Do you have anything to say about Texas?
No.
That's about what we both think about the Texas Rangers this upcoming season. My wild cards, I think the Yankees are going to make it easily. I think they're going to be the second best team in the American League this year. And then, like I said, I think the Minnesota Twins are going to surprise people. Maybe only the A's and Rays can contend with those two teams for wild cards.
I easily agree with you on the Yankees. I'm going to say...
You don't think the Twins are quite there yet with first-year manager Rocco Baldelli?
Not there yet, but they're going to make it close. I'm going to say Oakland... only because of their offense slight.
I feel the same way about the pitching staff for the Twins pretty much as I do about the A's. So really it could come down to offenses. Like I said, I really like Cruz and Gonzalez for the Twins. My MVP choice, even though bad teams rarely have guys win MVPs, but you have the voters and the sabermetric guys every year saying Mike Trout's best player in baseball. So even though it's a third place team won't make the playoffs, I have Mike Trout winning the MVP this year in the American League. Who do you have?
Although he is in a very deep offensive loaded team, yeah. I think Alex Bregman is
I think that's a great pick. If anything is to stop him, it would be because of that offense. But Mookie Betts was in a great offense last year and won the MVP.
Yeah.
My Cy Young, I think Chris Sale's the best pitcher in the American League. He does tend to fall off late in the year if he wants to win the Cy Young. In fact, if the Red Sox want to beat the Yankees in that division this year, he's going to need to avoid that. But I do think he'll put it together from start to finish, and he will be my Cy Young this year.
I agree with that.
All right, and let's get on to the National League. We'll start with the East. Eric and I were talking about this a little bit before the show, and this is where we differ the most of all of the season preview here. I not only think that the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be the best team in the National League this year, I think they're going to be the best team in all of baseball. So I have them winning the National League East. I love the addition of Bryce Harper, a former MVP with the Washington Nationals, to one of the friendliest hitter parks in all of the game. I love I think he's going to hit 40 homers this year. I love the addition of the best offensive catcher currently in the game, JT Realmuto. I love that they added Gene Segura. He's going to be around 300 average, 200 hits, steals a lot of bases. I like that they added Andrew McCutchen for veteran presence, even though he's not the same offensive threat he was when he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Rhys Hoskins should hit at least 30 homers this year. That offense in Citizens Bank Park is going to be scary good. And I also think they have a great rotation, at least the start of it, with Aaron Nola, one of my Cy Young candidates this year, and Jake Arrieta. I think this is a 100-win ball team, but you don't agree that they're going to win the division.
Okay, I really love the Phillies only because, I love the Phillies because of their offense. Now, their pitching, if Arrieta can go back to he was in 15 and 16, mm-hmm. Philadelphia is easily the best team in the National League.
But you just don't trust him at this point in his career?
I just don't trust him, especially with all the hype and all the pressure that's going to happen to Philly. Now, a team that we, kind of slittered off a little bit, I would say Atlanta, surprisingly. I do like their offense.
They were definitely surprised last year.
I do like their offense, yes. Mm-hmm. Their pitching is still questionable.
It's suspect, definitely. And their best pitcher is starting the year off hurt, too, Mike Fultonevich.
But they have the offense just as much as Philadelphia's offense.
I don't know. You can say that about maybe the only teams in baseball you can say that about, in my opinion, are the Red Sox and Phillies. Now, I don't disagree that the Braves have good offense. I think they have a really good offense, but I don't think it's going to be Philly in Citizens Bank Ballpark level. I actually have the Atlanta Braves finishing third this year, even though they won it last year and surprised many. I do like the acquisition of third baseman Josh Donaldson on a one-year deal because he's going to set out to prove that he still has it. I think that's great. I think putting him in a lineup with reigning Rookie of the Year Ronald Acuna Jr. and batting title threat Freddie Freeman, I agree. Really good offense. I do not trust anybody on that pitching staff other than Mike Fultonevich, who, as I said, is going to start the year off with a little injury. I just don't trust. I think out of all the rotations in of the four best teams in the National League East, because we might as well not even talk about the Miami Marlins. They're going to be dead last. They're going to be the worst team in the National League this year. So that's all we have to say about Miami. But I think that the Braves have a worse rotation and just pitching in general than the Nats and the Phillies and the Mets. Where do you have the Phillies at?
I have the Phillies second.
Okay.
But if you look at it, I have the Nationals, Braves, Mets, those three teams could flip-flop
Oh, definitely.
And really,
definitely.
you know, you can
any of
have,
those teams can make playoffs.
I
this
mean,
year.
1 through 4, any of those teams can make a playoffs.
Even the Mets.
Even the Mets. I got Philly in second, but it'll be very close. I think it'll be coming down to the very end. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think Philly's going to win it one away if they do. I think Atlanta and Washington and the Mets are going to compete with them.
I have the Washington Nationals in second. I think the Braves have a better offense this year than the Nationals, but the Nationals have one of the best rotations and definitely the National League, if not the game. Max Scherzer is the league's best pitcher. They also added Patrick Corbin via free agency from the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think he'll do a lot of good things for him. What's really going to make or break the national season could be the health of Steven Strasburg. You never know what you're going to get from him. Their offense is going to hurt greatly because they lost former MVP and their best player, Bryce Harper. But Juan Soto was a stud last year, breakthrough stud. They have infielders Anthony Rendon. They added Brian Dozier. They're still going to have good run production, but I think it's their rotation that's going to keep them ahead of the Braves. So I have them second. I believe you have them third.
I have them third. Also, Adam Eaton, I think, is...
Yes, coming back. He was hurt, I believe, in the very first game of last season and missed the whole season. Yeah. He's an all-star player, caliber player when he's healthy. Now, we're going to agree that the New York Mets are going to finish fourth in the National League East this year, but we also agree that it wouldn't be too surprising if they won a wild card and made the playoffs.
It wouldn't be too surprising because, obviously, you got the reigning Cy Young and Jacob deGrom.
Yes, and we're hopefully going to see a healthy Noah Syndergaard this year.
Yeah,
and together that might be the best 1-2
that's
of any
a
pitching
very
staff
good
in the National League.
punch. Steven Matz, I think there's still some questions about him, but I like his upside. Obviously, Robinson Cano helps.
There should really make that offense with Michael Conforto,
I like
Nimmo,
Conforto.
click. And then I think the most important player in that trade with the Mariners in the offseason was Edwin Diaz, who I think is the best closer in baseball, and he's still a young guy. They've got him for a few years. So, like I said, it wouldn't be surprising to see if they even made a run at the wild card, but I still think fourth place is the best they're going to do. On to the National League Central, the Cardinals have had a few rough years, not making the playoffs. Fired Mike Matheny last year. But I think they're going to return to form this year. My favorite acquisition in the offseason was them trading for Paul Goldschmidt. Even though he will be a free agent after next year, I still think it's going to do huge things for them this year, throwing him in the lineup with Marcelo Zuna, Matt Carpenter, some other guys. And they didn't have to give up a lot for him because he will be a free agent. No. I really love their rotation with young guys like Miles Mikolas, which is just a fun name to say. Carlos Martinez, Jack Flaherty. They all should be impressive. If they can get anything close to Andrew Miller's old self, who they signed, I think that'll be a great signing. And to throw Miller in that bullpen with a guy in Jordan Hicks who throws the hardest of any pitcher in baseball, I think the Cardinals are going to be around 100 wins and win the Central.
Yeah, I will agree, and I think we surprisingly agree on the division winner because I think, given that
it's a great division,
I mean,
at least 1 through 3, and then the Reds could be really good this year.
Yeah,
too.
The Central could be like the East. There's probably one small difference, but really, I mean, you've got about 3 or 4 teams that are going to compete for playoff spots.
Milwaukee Brewers surprised a lot of people last year by winning the Central. And then going all the way to the National League Championship Series where they eventually lost to the Dodgers. They have reigning National League MVP outfielder Christian Yelich. I think the offense may even be better this year. They brought Mike Moustakas back. He's going to play second base even though he's never played it. Yasmani Grandal has been signed to catch for them. He's one of the better offensive catchers in the game. The only thing I don't trust about Milwaukee is their rotation. I want to know if last year was a fluke. But here's the thing. They may have the best bullpen in the National League led by Josh Hader and Jeremy Jeffress. So they really only have to get 5 innings out of their starting pitchers, and then the bullpen's got it the rest of the way. You don't have them in second.
I've got the Cubs in second, just slightly over Milwaukee.
I just still doubt the Cubs because they underachieved so much the last few years. This team should be in the NLCS every year. So to me, it's one of those gut things more than, oh, this team looks great on paper. The offense looks great. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo.
Right, but again, I would say this. Mm-hmm. Now, the Cubs have already had their rotation set from basically from the get-go once the offseason
I have some concerns
started.
with it, though.
There are questions. There are questions. I'll give you that.
But the top 2 should be easy.
But Lester and Hendricks are going to be good.
Hamels.
It's going to be awesome. If
I
they
don't
can,
really trust their bullpen either, though.
yeah, their bullpen is suspect, but I think Strope is one of the better relievers in the league. If they can get a lot of, if they can play well with him probably being their closer pretty much this year, I still think the Cubs are going to be right there.
The Cincinnati Reds have done some interesting things this offseason. They got Matt Kemp, a veteran presence from the Dodgers, along with Yasiel Puig, who I think will have a bit of a rejuvenated year, especially in a hitter-friendly ballpark in Cincinnati. They got Alex Wood to their rotation from the Dodgers as well in that deal. But I think throwing Kemp and Puig into an offense that includes Joey Votto, Scooter Gennett, Eugenio Suarez, they're going to score a lot of runs. The only question is, what are they going to get from that pitching staff? Now, a lot of people think that the Reds are going to be one of the surprising teams in the NL this year, and I really don't doubt that. But either way in this division, I just cannot see them finishing better than fourth place.
If they were probably, let's say, in the NL West, they could compete with.
Yeah.
They could be better than, I would say, Colorado.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. But again, I agree with you.
Offensively, yes.
Offensively, yes. Pitching, no. And I agree with they'll finish fourth.
Pirates are going to finish in the cellar. We both agree on this. They have some great talent, especially in that outfield with Starling Marte, Gregory Polanco, Corey Dickerson. But I just don't think that they're going to do. They might finish fourth if the Reds aren't as good as people think they are, but I just can't even see them doing better than that. So I have them last place.
Yeah, I agree.
National League West, it's been owned by the Los Angeles Dodgers for the last few years, and I think that's going to continue, especially with the return of shortstop Corey Seager, who missed almost the entirety of 2018. They also added A.J. Pollock to the outfield, great addition. Coming over from division rival Arizona Diamondbacks. Biggest questions with the Dodgers all revolve around their pitching staff. Is Clayton Kershaw going to be healthy? And if he is, will he revert back to his old self? Or has he just gotten to a point in the game where he's thrown so many pitches that he's kind of on the downswing? Will Walker Buehler be as good in his sophomore season as he was as a rookie? And what Kenley Jansen's going to do coming back from some health issues? Those are the biggest questions. But even with those questions, I think that they're going to be better than Colorado Rockies and win this division.
Yeah, they're still good enough to win the division. Muncy and Bellinger, Justin Turner's really good. I like him. I just think that the Dodgers, if they can get Clayton Kershaw healthy, they should make a World Series run once again.
I just think that could be more of a bigger if than
and that's a huge if.
Okay.
A huge if.
I got the Colorado Rockies in second again. Biggest question with them is this finally going to be the year that Rockies third baseman Nolan Arenado wins the National League MVP? He's one of the best players in the league. He's kind of underrated because one of the reasons he's kind of underrated is he plays in Coors Field. But if you look at his away numbers, they're just as good, if not better, than his home numbers. And he's one of the best defensive third basemen of all time. Some people say he is already. They have Kyle Freeland as their ace. He's done just fine, but I don't know how much help he's going to have on the pitching staff. And that's what's keeping them out of the playoffs, in my opinion, this year. But I do think they'll be one of a handful of teams fighting for the wild card.
Their pitching's always going to be in question. And granted, not having all your home games at Coors Field doesn't help much either. However, with Colorado, I like, obviously, Nolan Arenado's the best third baseman. You got Trevor Story. They added Daniel Murphy, who I think is going to have a huge year playing in that ballpark.
Another difference we have is in this division. The team that I have in last place in this division, you have in third place. Who's that team?
You have, let's see, you have the,
Giants.
Giants, sorry. Yeah, you have the Giants. Now, yes, I know Madison Baumgartner's getting older. I know Buster Posey, he's been hurt, and also getting older.
Hopefully he'll have a bounce back season.
But I think he'll have a bounce back season.
They've got some good guys, especially
they
if Evan
have Brandon
Longoria can be
Crawford,
healthy. Yeah.
Longoria.
Joe Panic's good.
Joe Panic. I mean, outfielder's going to be questioned. I think
A lot of young guys out there fighting for jobs.
But, I think they really want to do well and boost
Their
Bochy's
biggest story is going
year.
to be that. Bruce Bochy, 3-time World Series champion, no doubt future Hall of Famer, but I kind of feel bad for him because I don't think it's going to be a good year for the Giants. I have them in the cellar. You have them third. My third place team's Arizona Diamondbacks. They led the National League West for quite a while last year before falling off late, but I think they're going to have the biggest drop-off for any team in the National League from last year to this year, and the reason why is they lost their best players. Paul Goldschmidt is now a St. Louis Cardinal. A.J. Pollock is now with the division rival Dodgers. And Patrick Corbin has signed with the Washington Nationals via free agency. But I still think they'll be in third. They still have ace Zach Greinke. David Peralta's a good offensive player if he's not traded. You have them one spot below.
I have them in fourth. Only, I question Zach Greinke's health too.
Yeah.
Anybody
that gets to that age, you're going to start to question. Right?
Oh yeah, but I don't even know if he's even going to be a Diamondback.
Yeah, he could definitely be trade bait too.
I just think that with a lot of subtractions, not a whole lot of additions, they just signed Adam Jones, a veteran presence, but that to me, I think Arizona really has fallen off.
Now, I have the San Diego Padres finishing fourth in this division. They won the free agency sweepstakes for third baseman Manny Machado, who I think is one of the game's 10 best players. I like him being added into an offense that includes Eric Hosmer, who was their big free agent get before last season, and Will Myers. The problem with the Padres is pitching, and I hate to admit this, but while I was preparing the notes for this podcast, as anybody who does podcasts should have notes going in, I saw their rotational depth chart on the website, and it just had first initials and then last names. I can't name a single one of their rotation guys' first names. They're young guys, they're up and coming, they may be good one day. I don't expect that much from them this year. Do you have anything to say about the Padres?
I have them last only because I don't really know their pitching. Yeah. And I mean, yes, they have a great offense. They're going to have a great offense with Machado and Myers and Hosmer and Hunter Renfroe, but outside of that, I don't see what the Padres are going to bring to the table.
I think you're going to have 7 teams in the wild card hunt in the National League this year, but I'm going to pick my 2 wild cards, both from the National League Central. I think it'll be the Milwaukee Brewers, the Chicago Cubs, which means that the team that you have winning the National League East, the Atlanta Braves, I don't have even making the playoffs. Who are your wild card
I got
picks?
The Cubs and I got the Rockies. I think
which means you don't have the Phillies, who I think will be the best.
I don't
team in
have
the entire
Philly.
league.
I don't have.
Do you
the
think
Phillies.
Bryce Harper's going to struggle in his first year with Philadelphia?
I think for a little bit, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of ups and downs because he did sign late and everything. But I think come next year, they're going to be dangerous for a little bit while he's there.
Let's jump right into the MVP talk for this league because I think it is going to be Bryce Harper. I think he's going to hit at least 40 homers, drive in 100 RBIs. Hopefully he'll be closer to 300. That may be too much to ask for him. Maybe 280. He gets on base a lot, though, via walks, on base percentage. If it's not going to be Harper, I think it'll be Paul Goldschmidt for the Cardinals. I think he's going to put up huge numbers for St. Louis, too.
Yeah,
but I really like Bryce and the Philadelphia hitter-friendly ballpark.
Right.
Who is your MVP pick for the National League?
It seems like every year you have to have, like, a guy that comes out of nowhere and you thought, to me, I'm going to pick a surprise. I think it's Freddie Freeman because, again, I mean, you think about the National League first baseman.
Really great. Rizzo, Goldschmidt, Aguilar, Muncy, really good.
I mean, and all of those guys will be contending for MVPs, but I think that Freddie Freeman will somehow keep the Braves in it for most of the year. I mean, yes,
I don't doubt that at all. I think he'll be a huge threat to winning the batting title.
I think he'll be a huge threat. Yeah, I agree. He'll be a huge threat to the batting title. I think, realistically, he's the reason why the Braves are going to be in it.
When it comes to Cy Young, all I know is this thing's going to be won from somebody in the National League East. Jacob deGrom could repeat if his ERA is under 2 again. Max Scherzer, best pitcher in the National League, I think. But I'm going to go with Aaron Nola because I believe the Phillies are going to be the best team in the National League. And for them to do that, he's going to have to be close to 20 wins. His ERA is going to have to be fairly good. So he's going to be my Cy Young pick. Who is yours?
I got Max Scherzer, no surprise. The NL East, I think, is probably have the best pitching.
Oh, definitely.
But I really think that Max Scherzer is one of the greatest pitchers of all time right now.
We both mentioned earlier that we thought Vlad Guerrero Jr. could be the American League Rookie of the Year. I don't really have anybody in mind for the National League, but who do you
I
have?
got Pete Alonso of the Mets. I think that they're really high on him, and with him joining Conforto and Cano, Nemo, I think that he's going to have that contention to be a leading rookie of the year.
Yeah. And who are your manager of the year picks, Eric?
I got Kevin Cash of the Rays. Bob Melvin would be close, and I think Rocco Baldelli's going to be close.
I have
too.
the Twins being one of my wild cards in the American League, so I'm going to go with first-year manager Rocco Baldelli. And your National League guy?
Mike Schlitt.
I agree with that. He's a guy that really turned the team around last year when they fired Mike Matheny, which surprised me. I think they're going to win 100 games or so and win that division, so I definitely think he's a good pick. World Series picks. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies over the Boston Red Sox. I just think that those two teams are definitely going to be the best in their league. I know that doesn't always mean World Series matchup or even get to the World Series, but I just have a feeling the Phillies are going to be really good this year, and I don't see the Red Sox falling off much at all from last year. What is your World Series pick?
I've got Houston over Boston in the ALCS, and I think it'll be a 7-game classic. I think it'll be one of those.
So a rematch of basically exactly what it was a couple years ago.
I mean, I think I've got Houston over Boston in the AL. Mm-hmm. I've got Dodgers. I have Dodgers over Cardinals in the NLCS.
Mm-hmm. That sounds. I don't think the Dodgers are as good as you do, but so basically, as high as I am on the Phillies, I think you're on the Dodgers right now. So I would replace that with the Phillies. But we both have the Dodgers making the playoffs. So
I wouldn't be surprised if
I would feel bad for Dodgers fans if they get to another one and lose it.
Yeah,
because that.
I think that there's Dodgers. I think Cubs can still get in. I think Phillies. There's
a handful of teams in that.
There's a handful of teams. But I'm going Houston. I would say Houston over. The Dodgers, and I think Houston's got a little mini dynasty going.
It wouldn't surprise me. They just feel like a team that should win more than one championship, but you could say that about the Cubs too, and some others. Some teams that just feel like they're going to hang around and only win one. It was fun doing this baseball season preview, and like I said, Eric has done a sports podcast with me before, and if I have any more coming up in the future, I'm sure we'll be hearing from him again. We're kind of hoping that the Word Podcast will be basically everything that the Word webzine is online. You can see us at thewordwebzine.weebly.com, where we cover sports, movies, music, television. So I hope that the podcast sort of encompasses all those pop culture topics as well. You can check out the first one we did a couple weeks ago. I did a recap of the Academy Awards, the Oscars. It's only about 15 minutes long if you want to look that up. I hope you'll be hearing from us again in the future. Thank you, Eric, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And y'all have a great night.